There you go, Councillor Locke. The meeting's been recorded, so if you'd like to start off.
Do I continue? Press continue.
You're live now, so if you want to carry on, that's it.
It's all right, because it's got that in the middle of my screen. I don't know whether I don't want to touch anything and I go off. I can't.
Can everybody hear Councillor Locke? Is that are we good to go?
Yeah, Councillor, just press continue and that box will disappear.
Okay.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris. Good evening, everyone. I'm Councillor Mary Locke from Stirchley Ward. I know it's a really hot and humid evening, and thank you for turning up tonight. I just want to inform you that of the notice of recording. This meeting is being recorded for it will go onto the council's YouTube's site and for watching at a later date, so you can pick it up and watch later as well. First on the, I've had to juggle the agenda around for a couple of reasons, but first person I'd like to introduce you to is Chris Hurst. He's bid manager and also High Streets, and he's going to talk about the future High Street funds and give us an update, because it's been some time since we heard back from the expert. So over to you, Chris.
Thank you, Councillor, and hello everybody. Like as the Councillor said, my name's Chris Hurst. I'm the High Streets and Bids Manager at Birmingham City Council. I've been in post about 8 weeks, so be gentle please and base your questions around that if you don't mind. The Future High Street Fund bid and the Levelling Up Fund bid is being led by a colleague called Doug in transportation. So I know that there's progress being made in it, but what I'm kind of here to talk about and throw open for a conversation really is the result of the High Street Task Force report. So I don't know how many of you would have been involved in that, but you've got a visit from somebody from probably Manchester Metropolitan University or the Institute of Place Management, one of the two. And sorry, Councillor, do you have your finger up?
Yes, a couple of the groups went to Manchester for training last year, and then it was pre-COVID, I think. Then the expert came. I think it was early this year, and we had a Teams Zoom meeting, and a number of the community groups and traders attended that, and they did a report, but we.
I think I got the gist. The report is interesting reading, if slightly generic reading, but the upshot was really one of the recommendations was to form a town board, or if I can quote them, form a town board, a task force or similar of place leaders across the council, business and communities to shape the strategy for Stirchley. So while the Levelling Up Fund bid is taking shape, there's always the question of who represents the community and things like that. And that's what I'd be quite interested in today, is just to get views on how business organisations, community groups, etc., can come together and form as common a vision as possible for Stirchley, to help take forward and give a bit of impetus to either the Levelling Up Fund bid or what comes after it, how you drive it, or if the Levelling Up Fund bid isn't successful, how do you continue momentum without then fracturing and splintering off into different groups. To give you an example, the Erdington bid is currently in at the moment, and there's a community group there who are pulling the strings, holding council officers like me accountable for actions and things like that, which has been very useful to help give a sense of momentum to what they're trying to do, even before the funding has been hopefully issued to Erdington. To see something similar in Stirchley would be really interesting. Full disclosure, I lived in Stirchley for about 4 or 5 years on Bond Street, so I know it well, and I was also told it was up and coming, and I think I lived there when it up and came, which was fantastic, and wine bars started appearing and things like that, which is all a bit of a shock to the system. So I do have a vested interest in the success of Stirchley from a personal level, and I now live up the hill in Cotteridge, so I'd like to see something great happen in Stirchley so it washes up the hill to Cotteridge, to be honest. But all these things start with finding as much common ground and common vision as possible. And I'd be interested to hear from whether it's the councillor or from people attending, who should be engaged, or are the right people being engaged from a business and a community perspective. And that kind of information will help feed into the Future High Street Fund application and give it a bit of strength and a bit of depth. And when it goes to local, central government, they'll be able to see that there is a broader community, social, business voice behind the aspirations set out in that funding grid. So less of an update, more of a question, really.
Are there any questions for anyone? For anyone? I definitely, on a personal level, I think it should be the community, residents, community groups and traders, because I think without one you won't have the other, because people shop and people live in the area. That's my personal opinion, but I don't know if anybody else thinks differently. I don't know, Peter or Margaret, I don't know. How do you feel? Is anybody there?
Councillor Locke, I think Peter's trying to comment, but I think he might be having trouble with his audio. So I'm not sure if, Peter, you can hear me, if you want to use the chat box to put your comment or your question in.
If you want to use the chat, Peter, please do, or Margaret, please do. Or anyone else as well.
And I think Paula might have a comment or a question.
Paula?
Just to say, I agree with you, Mary, because as you know, we've got the two main groups that are already working together, are Stirchley together. So yes, I'm sure that I can't really speak on behalf of everybody, but I would imagine that we would want to continue working together on this, because I know there's been a certain amount of liaison between us all already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, how would it mean, like getting the groups together for a Stirchley together meeting, or?
Probably. I can't see Sandra's in the meeting, because Sandra's the one with all the emails and sends them out when we need a meeting. So yeah.
If I arranged a meeting and get with Chris or something like that, and Doug, and do it something like that, and Sandra, yourself, and possibly Stirchley the way forward. I don't know whether they're here tonight. I mean, you know, because Stacey and co are the people behind the traders, or any of the traders who may be interested, because it does affect them.
I think I know Stacey has been quite busy talking to the traders about another issue, about trying to set up some sort of event in Stirchley for August, September time. But I'm sure that a meeting at some point, this time of year is not always a good time, but
oh no,
I'm sure that sooner or later, yes,
yeah, we
should be able to do something.
Anyone else want to say anything? Because Stirchley isn't just the high street. Stirchley is, there's lots of areas of Stirchley. I mean, you've got Pitley Close, you've got various areas as well, up to Cottridge, the Hazelwell estate. So I think as well, it's got to be inclusive of people there too. Anyone else got something anything to say?
I think Chris wanted to come back. Councillor Locke.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. Okay. Paula, cheers, and Susan as well. I saw your comments, so thank you for that. Paula, you said that the Search Together and the Way Forward like liaise with each other. So is that informally and amicable? But how do they do that? Is that the kind of form that we could just pick up and drop into a meeting where you know, myself, the councillor, colleagues of transportation who are running the Levelling Up Fund could just pick up that liaison group and pop it into a meeting, and that would be fairly representative.
The easiest thing sometimes is to actually start with a neighbourhood forum meeting and then take it from there. And often representatives of Stirchley The Way Forward attend the forum, the neighbourhood forum meeting. Sandra is our secretary, but she's the one that does, and she sends out a lot of the invites and emails for Zoom meetings and whatnot. I think probably and then we take it from there. And yes, this year we've had some interesting meetings, but it's not just the forum and Stirchley The Way Forward, it's anybody else that wants to be involved as well. That's why we've called it Stirchley Together. So probably the short answer to your question is yes.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Paula. Can I ask if anyone else has got anything to add to that, or wants to say anything? Well, if anybody's having problems with their sound or anything like that, if you want to email me and I could forward it to Chris. Oh, Karen Cheney's here too. Now, Karen.
Sorry, I've forgotten how to use Zoom. Got you so used to Teams. It's just a quickie, and it's a question for Chris really, because we all had the report, and I have to say I thought it was quite disappointing. I thought it was quite generic, and just repeated all the good things that people in Stirchley had said, rather than give any, well, what's the next step? So I suppose my question is, what would be the next steps taking it forward now we've got that report? What do you think the advantages are that Stirchley and all the fantastic community assets that are along the high street and around the high street could gain for continuing to be involved?
I think you missed the preamble at the beginning, where I did agree. I agree with you that it is a generic report, but there are a couple of nuggets in there that are quite useful. The first, I mean, they call it a town, like I've already said, like they call it a town board or a town team or whatever you want to call it. It's basically a group of people coming together to agree what the wider community, and by that I mean business, social, cultural, think is the best route forward to enhance the high street and the surrounding areas. So that's not just the high street for shops, but it's how you make it a great place for people as well. And by making somewhere a great place for people, you make it a great place for business, for entrepreneurs to start up, for existing ones, etc., and just to come and visit, spend time, so on, you know, to walk your kids to school and things like that. The ongoing benefit of that is, if you begin to coalesce around a common sense of purpose, it becomes, how to say this, a more investable, desirable location. And I don't say that meaning you're going to get the chains moving in, although you might get interest from chains. I'm saying that you might suddenly see a flourishing of the smaller businesses that are already taking root in Stirchley. Now, there's a reason that Wildcats has expanded its room, and why Eat Vietnam has come in and done so well. There's an audience around Stirchley which is primed for that sort of stuff, and it can be having that vision in place, and that group with an identifiable badge and vision can allow you to go to landlords of properties that perhaps are in great locations but are a little bit less desirable for opportunities to be taken into, or are currently underused, to have conversations with them on a firm footing. And it also allows you to line your ducks up for future funding opportunities, such as the Levelling Up Fund. So there's huge opportunities of having a common sense of purpose. It's not essential by any means. Groups get funded for all sorts of things, but I personally think it's incredibly helpful when you're talking to central government. And we heard all about the Levelling Up agenda and what's going to replace, if anything, state aid. Now that we've left the European Union properly and they're looking at other budgets at central government, what will that how will those funds be accessed? And places with a strong sense of who they are and what they want to achieve are likely to be higher up the pecking order because they can tell a good story and a good narrative behind what they're trying to do.
Right. I think Susan's added something in the chat. I don't know whether you want to see that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree with what Susan types.
Yeah.
The community involvement, the business. When we say community, we should mean, you know, we mean the community who trades on the high street and the community who is in walking distance of the high street.
Okay. Is there anything else? Anybody else got any questions to ask or comments to make?
David, to your comment about Isherwood, yeah, I'd heard that as well, and they are going because of landlords doubling the rents. The curse of being a popular, regenerating part of Birmingham. You know, the local authority has no control over rents as far as I'm aware. And if landlords wish to start doubling their rent and forcing out successful businesses, let's hope, who knows what they'll replace them with. But if, let's say, Stirchley Together became the group through which landlords were engaged, you might be able to try and discuss with that landlord what their plans for the Isherwood unit were, and also perhaps even find a new space for Isherwood. I think they're going to Bourneville, aren't they? Somewhere in Bourneville, I can't remember.
Yeah. So I was asking about, will the high street cater for the elderly and disabled? Because I know that needs to be looked at as well, because sometimes some of the shops are difficult to access because they've got steps as well, and we've got to think of that.
Absolutely, the high street should cater for everybody. Full stop.
Yeah, be inclusive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's about Isherwoods, I think. Okay. If you've got any other comments that you want to make, or suggestions or ideas, email me and I can forward them on to Chris, and we will probably have a meeting and get together with Sandra, maybe along a bit later on, because she's got another meeting, and we can look at sort of getting Stirchley together, a Stirchley Together meeting, or even a forum meeting, probably because the next forum meeting is until September, and maybe have an invite to that and talk there about it. At the moment, it's still on Zoom. Oh, there you go. This is Rob's just come up. Rob Morris is the chair of Stirchley Neighbourhood Forum, and we were just talking about the Future High Street Fund.
Yes, that's why I've joined. Sorry, I'm a bit late.
Yeah, and Chris Hurst is the lead manager for High Streets, and he's been explaining what's been going on since the expert visit came, and we had the virtual, well, she came via Zoom, and we had the meeting and discussing her report.
Yeah, I think Sandra's actually got her fingers more closely on the pulse of that. Certainly, I mean, the only thing I'd want to say at this moment is that the forum, we decided probably not to meet in August, and then to be open at this stage about meeting in September, whether via Zoom or possibly face to face. We'd certainly like it to be a public face to face meeting, but we'll just have to wait and see. But it'll be the normal time. But I think one of the difficulties is engaging the other partners in the high street about who exactly we need to be just building cooperation with. I think that's something we find a bit difficult. I'm not quite sure where next to go, but we shall, we shall just push on. And a face-to-face meeting, and certainly in September, if we can manage it, would be a very good place to build that. But we just don't know at the moment.
I think a lot of things are up in the air at the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, Paul has suggested as we meet as Stirchley together, because that is a number of groups like yourselves and the Stirchley the Way Forward. I know that Stirchley the Way Forward take part in the forum, all the different names, having a separate, a one-off meeting like that, or as Stirchley together, or do it at the at the forum, possibly September, whether, like you say, Zoom or face to face. But at the moment, that's all in the hands of someone else.
Well, I mean, we can certainly do it in September, but it would be ideal if it was face to face. And the forum has always seen its role, if others wish it to be a kind of convening place where others can meet and where we can build up sort of development. We certainly don't want to do it all ourselves. That's not cool. But I noticed on the Facebook who are the committee members as well. On the Stirchley Neighbourhood Forum, you'll find a list of who the committee members are and we get elected or not.
No, Rob. I'm here now. Sorry, I'm late.
Right.
No, it's Stirchley the Way Forward committees they want to know, not the forum. Yeah, the forum's all there on the website.
That's what I thought.
I'm sorry I'm late, everybody, but I was at a COVID Champions meeting. But I'm interested in the high street because I took the time to do the footfall survey. I went to Manchester. We did lots of work and it's all ground to a halt. And it just gets a bit, you think, why do I bother, to be honest? And I know, and I can see Susan's here as well. She also came to Manchester and helped with the footfall survey. I just wondered, what's happening generally, or should we be doing, as Rob said, should we be doing something ourselves, independently, possibly of the council or whatever? It's really how we go forward from here, I think.
Chris, over to you.
Thank you, Councillor. So Sandra, and was it Rob? Yeah, sorry. I would call you Zoom user, but I assume that wasn't your real name. Hello both. As the councillor said, I'm the High Streets and Bids Manager for Birmingham City Council. I've been in place for 8 weeks, so be nice, please, for now. I think, Rob, you said something interesting. Who do we need to engage with to build cooperation? Which I think is, for me, that's the next step. So, Sandra, I think it's probably the third time I said it, but the report was generic. And didn't really do much to move it forward. But there's one key outcome in it, which is they call it a town board or a town team or whatever you want to call it. But effectively, it's a method to build cooperation amongst partners that are interested in Stirchley and the future of Stirchley. And personal view, that's the next step. And whatever vehicle you choose to do it through, whether it's the neighbourhood forum, the ward forum, a brand new vehicle, whatever, that's the drumbeat which you can try and coalesce local people, local businesses, etc. around, local landlords around, and that's where you begin to thrash out what the point of Stirchley is. What do people want to see? And as soon as you start getting this narrative of what do we want in there? What will be good for Stirchley? What will be good for the businesses there? What will be good for the people who walk to school? What will be good for the people who live within 5-10 minutes walk? What will be good for the people on the southern end of the Cross City line who can get to Bourneville Station in 5 minutes? That's when the interesting stuff starts happening, because you begin to get an alignment of people's vision for what's going to happen next. You begin to start putting actions against those. It could be something as simple as, look, we need to get a sense of pride of place. We need to tidy up the bin. We need to chop down a tree. We need to jet wash the pavements, etc. Or it could be something incredibly bombastic, like we need to level half the high street and build a park. But it's a case of a bit of blue sky thinking meets a bit of realism with a wider group as possible. And there will be people and groups that you can't bring along because they're simply not interested. But the aim there is to make that the outlier rather than the norm. And how you do that takes graft. But I'm helping a couple of other areas in the city do that now. So outside of this meeting, if you wish, or via Councillor Locke, I'm happy to have a deeper conversation about what's happened to date and what could be done. And if, as it looks like in September, people seem to be happy for it to be either face-to-face or remote, perhaps that's a date we can aim for, especially with August being slightly hit and miss people's availability. But it is, that report was never going to be a magic bullet and give you a real clear, concise way forward, because frankly, they don't know enough about Stirchley, and the people who do are either on this call or are part of Stirchley the Way Forward or Stirchley Together, etc. And it's how you build and tap into that brain trust and keep them interested is the key to it. That's the next step.
But my understanding was after they generated the report, then they would do some facilitation for us to get some of these people together and look at what would happen next. When we almost got to that stage, it was, to be fair, quite heavily weighted towards the council rather than local people. In fact, there were very few of us who are residents that were involved. We're going to be involved in that process, and then it didn't happen anyway. So, and I think it's the facilitation that we need, and it would be helpful if it wasn't the council, to be fair. Somebody who somebody does come in from the outside. Last summer I did a lot of online stuff with the High Street Fund. They did a whole series of seminars and all sorts of things, and there were some wonderful things happening elsewhere, which I would love to have been able to share with Stirchley. As you say, the blue sky thinking, okay, it might not work for us in this way, but if we did it, we could just change it, make it work for us. Yeah. But we just need that facilitation, that I can't quite think of the word, but just to get things moving. But yeah, and I'd love to meet with you if it's possible, and with several other of us, that just to get some ideas of where we go from here.
Why did you feel unable to share what you'd learned in the High Street Forum with other people? Just you didn't know where to do it? Yeah,
there wasn't a forum to do it. And obviously it didn't help last year that we were still getting ourselves organised with Zoom, etc. And it is the sort of thing I think is probably easier face to face, but it was also my time to put things together and put it in a way that would engage people. I have other things, I have a job, other things in my life. So somebody with a bit more knowledge than me to put some things together, I think would have been really helpful, and possibly still could be.
Yes. Can I jump in, Sandra?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Sorry, I've said enough. I'll go away again now.
No, don't. Keep going. The more you say, the less I have to say.
Got other, Rob, I have got other others on the agenda as well. It's just trying to speed everybody up, but
that's fine.
I want plenty of time for all the subjects on the agenda.
Yeah, I just wanted to say very briefly to Chris, with Sandra and others who want to join us, I would be delighted. Stirchley has got lots of people who know part of the story and lots of people with part of the ideas, but we've lacked that really committed coordination. So discussion with Chris about how we draw that out would be really helpful. There we are, I've said it now, Mary.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's all yours.
Obviously, I'll be happy to help. Yeah,
well, I think that's good. So we look to set up something, do we? So you get in touch with us and or myself, and I can circulate it and invite people.
Sorry, just for clarity, you being me or Rob?
Rob.
Me, right.
Perfect.
Yeah, but that will involve coming back to you as well, Chris, so don't worry.
I'd like to be included as well.
Yes, well, we want to gather in all who want to be gathered in, Mary.
Take that as read, Mary. It's ex officio. We just
It's just to be there and be part of it as well, because it's good to feedback and know what the residents and traders want for this ward, and be inclusive of other, you know, as wider area. You know what I'm like with my ward boundaries and covering each little bit. I know it's going to be difficult, but it needs to be covered.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Shall I finish that now and I can let Chris go, because I know he's got duties to perform with his daughter.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Good night, everybody.
Okay, and thank you to your wife and all the work she does in the NHS on this not very good day for the NHS at the moment, with the announcement.
Yeah, I'll pass it on.
All right, thank you very much indeed. Thank you. I agree there with what Karen says. I'm now going to introduce Paul from Public Health with an update on COVID. So close your ears, Sandra, because you've probably had this. All right. Paul, are you there?
I'll go and make a cup of coffee.
Go and make your coffee, have a drink. Is Paul ready?
I am, yes. Thank you, Councillor. I was going to say everyone might have heard this already, as we're lucky enough to have a COVID community champion in the group, so I'll try and keep it brief and then leave as much time for Q&A at the end. What I'd like to do is just talk briefly through the current situation with the case rates in Birmingham, how that compares to across the West Midlands, then talk about a little bit about Stirchley specifically, what the picture looks like there, talk a little bit around your vaccination rates, how that looks, and then touch on the current guidance, because obviously we know everything. We've entered into step 4 as of Monday. There are still some guidelines in place and we are still being cautious, but I'll go into that in a bit more detail. And then towards the end, I'll just sort of go over the messaging around how and when we should be testing. And after I go off, and apologies to the next presenter, what I will then do is start dropping some links in the chat of some of the things I mentioned so that people can have access to them at their leisure later on. So in terms of the case rate in Birmingham, the 7 days up until last Friday, we were at 520 cases per 100,000 compared to just over 400 the week before. So 27% increase from one week to the next. So we're seeing sharp increases quite quickly as the measures are being relaxed. Works out to about the 50th highest in the UK compared to other upper tier authorities out of the 400. So we're sort of in that top, just sneaking inside that top quarter of case rates per 100,000. If we compare ourselves to the West Midlands, that 520 is broadly commensurate with what we're seeing elsewhere across the Midlands. Between 400 and 600 seems to be sort of the case rates we're seeing. A couple of exceptions. Herefordshire is much lower at 240, and Solihull is a lot higher at 857. Not particularly sure of the reasons driving those. Those would be Public Health England colleagues as opposed to Birmingham City Council. Public Health would hopefully have better answers to that if we were interested in finding out more. In terms of Stirchley itself, you had 58 cases in the same period over the course of the week, which puts you at the 55th out of 69 wards. So quite low down in terms of numbers across the city, but a different picture in terms of rates. So Stirchley must be quite sparsely populated compared to other areas. The case rate's 574, which is pretty much about average for the city at 552, 35 out of 69 wards. In fact, almost bang on the average for the city. That also plays out in the historical trends that I was looking at just before this meeting over the past few months, that it seems to have stayed sort of fairly static and around that sort of level that's sort of broadly comparable to the city average as we stand. In terms of vaccination rates, it's actually a really good picture in Stirchley. Looking at these numbers, they're all above the Birmingham average, which isn't to say I'm not going to still reinforce the measures and still please ask people to get your first vaccine if you haven't already, and please get your second vaccine, because the protection rate jumps from around 40–50% into the high 90s based on WHO research that I've read recently. So it's really important that even if you've had that first vaccine, that you go and get the second. And it's also really important that Some people were initially reticent to take the vaccine, subsequently changed their mind. If you've changed your mind, having refused one, that's absolutely fine. Get in touch with some of the links that I'll post. And they're more than willing for people to have changed their mind and come into the system and come in and get those vaccines that are going to help us hopefully maintain the stage 4 loosening of restrictions. Case rates across the city and within Stirchley have gone up across all age groups and across all ethnicities, but most cases, both in the city and Stirchley, are within that 25 to 39 age group, who are only around 57% vaccinated. So you've still got about 1 in 3 people in that age group who haven't been vaccinated. I think part of that will be a side effect that vaccination was only recently offered to those 18 plus. So I think if we can get those messages out there, have those conversations, encourage those younger people to get the vaccines, then hopefully we can start to see some improvement in those numbers, because it is that younger age group that are picking up the infections and transmitting. In terms of moving to step 4, I think, as we should all know, the vast majority of legal restrictions have been removed, but I don't think that means we can afford not to be cautious. So we want to talk, there's still an expectation that people will be cautious, come out of lockdown slowly. You can meet people now in unlimited groups, both inside and outside. But what we'd strongly recommend is that you limit those meetings to start with, both in sort of the frequency of the meeting, the number of people you're meeting, and how long you're meeting for. We'd really encourage you to keep testing twice weekly. I'll post the link for where you can get your home test LFT kits. It says they arrive within 48 hours. Mine so far have arrived within 24. So it seems a really good service. They're well stocked and they can get them out to you very quickly. If you're having symptoms, then we really need people to be booking those PCR tests to make sure the results are as robust as they can be. And then if those results come back negative, you're okay to carry on about your business if you do feel well enough, because obviously you've had some symptoms. Or if they don't, if they come back negative, then you're free to go out and start socialising again. Again, with that, as I say, that added caution. That was everything I think I wanted to cover. I know that there's some discussion around COVID passports. I can't really say anything about those as yet. I think that's going to be coming in announcements around August or September, depending on how the case rates play out during the opening bits of step 4. And there's other conversations happening at that national level that I can't really comment on. I think they're still working through a few of the ideas. So hopefully I've kept that brief enough to keep everyone's attention. And I apologise that it involved a lot of numbers, because I know that not everyone's a fan. But happy to take any questions or have any conversations if anyone wants to.
Are there any questions from anyone? I don't think so. Because the tests you can get, are they going to start charging for those or not? Because I've heard rumours that there are or not. At the moment they're free. You can order them online or you can go and collect them.
Well, as you say, you've heard rumours, and I think I've heard the same rumours, so I wouldn't want to confirm either way, Councillor. My hope is that they don't, because I've heard those rumours previously, and what it transpired was it was companies with dodgy links trying to misdirect people away from the NHS. Yes. So what I would suggest is, if you are going to order tests or are going to book in for tests, use the NHS services, because definitely for the moment at least, they are free at points of contact. Other services can charge you, but I'm not aware that the NHS does yet. And as to what happens next week or the month after, I wouldn't like to comment, I'm afraid. I wouldn't want to commit myself to crystal ball gazing, I'm sorry.
There's a couple of questions or comments in the app, in the chat. Susan says the Zoe app has different figures to Birmingham. What do you think?
It depends how the figures are calculated. So these figures are calculated by our test and trace team. We've got a whole team of analysts who work there and produce these numbers for us. And it can be as simple as the numbers are just being calculated in a different way. because there are lots and lots of different ways to calculate these figures.
Yeah. And Sandra says you can no longer get lateral flow tests from Lifford Test Centre. Ashtree Pharmacy stocks are getting low also.
All I can do about that, I'm afraid, is take it away and ask the question if we can get more stocks out to them.
Yeah.
If they don't have stocks, you can order them online, and they will be delivered from a central depot, as I understand it. So if you can't pop into your local pharmacies, or some supermarkets, I believe, do it as well, there is still the online service available, and as far as I'm aware, stocks are there to meet demand.
Because I think in a way there could be, not everybody has got computers and IT. You know, it's getting the system out, like so the notices out, so you can say, like, I don't know, Morrison's can stock them, or Ashtree Pharmacy, or wherever. It's not to panic people, but to know that, you know, they have them here, you know,
where they are available,
where to go, where to go. I don't know whether anybody else thinks the same. I mean, if people panic and, you know, stocks run low or out, then there's a worry then that, and people stop testing, there could be a chance that more cases rising again.
Yeah, no, absolutely. What I can do is I can flag that to our comms team, our communications team, and see if they're able to liaise with the NHS or the partners and see how we can get those messages out.
Yeah. Sandra, as our COVID champion, do you want to ask anything?
No, I don't think so. I mean, the test question came up, the lateral flow test question. I think that the main thing is, if people order the tests and have got the tests, they actually use them, because one of the issues is that a lot more are being given out than are actually reporting the results. And that's where I think the rumour came that they might stop giving them out for free, because obviously there is a cost. The rest of us are paying for them. So maybe it's just a question of making sure you use them, and B, you report the result, and then the system works better.
I've had a question in the chat. I don't know whether you can see it, Paul.
I can, yeah.
Yeah, shelter housing, can they order for the residents who do not have computers?
I believe so. I believe you just order them to an address as opposed to order them for a person. Let me just quickly go in. Can I quickly check the link and just make sure I'm correct on that? Because I'm sure you could order them for other people or on behalf of, but I want to be 100% correct on that rather than guess. Bear with me a moment.
That was the beauty of the Lifford Test Centre handing them out, because they just gave you 2 boxes. You could go in every day and they'd still give you 2 boxes. So you could just take them for anybody who needed them. But I think that's also where the wastefulness possibly has come in. That and people not reporting the result, because you don't know whether they've been used or not.
That's been commented on.
Bear with me a moment. I'm just flicking around windows and trying not to lose Teams while I go. Sorry, bear with me.
So at the moment, it is okay to order online.
So looking for it says ordering for someone else. Anyone in your household can use a test. You don't need to order 1 pack for each person. If you're ordering for another household, do it separately from your order and use their details, including their email address, if they have one. So yes, you can simply enter another person's details into the system and it will deliver them to that person rather than yourself. That's really good to know. And I'm glad that there's a service out there that will enable those people to get hold of tests as well. So that's really good to hear.
Yeah. If that could be circulated as well, so I can put it out as well. You know, after the meeting, I think that's been very useful. Are there any other questions or notes people want to ask, or comments or anything? on this hot evening, Paul, I'd like to say thank you. I know it's been humid, but thank you for coming and all the information you've given. And I should go and have a nice cool drink and cool off.
I will do. Thank you very much, Councillor. I'm going to have
Thank
a
you
5-minute
to all
break.
the team.
And then
Thank you to
I'll,
everyone.
oh no, thank you. I will pass on the thanks. What I'll do is I'll have a 5-minute break and I'll pop some links in the chat. So apologies to the next speaker if I post things that don't make sense to your conversation. But thank you very much and have a good evening all. Take care.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just writing down this. Just forgive me, I'm just writing an email down. And now we've got David Barker, who is co-founder of Baby Aid Birmingham. Hello, David.
Hello, Councillor. Thank you for inviting me.
You're very, very welcome. Would you like to tell everyone about Baby Aid Birmingham? Project close to my heart.
Yeah, sure. So Baby Aid Birmingham is a baby bank, for those of you who don't know, which is essentially a food bank, but for early years, so kind of up to age 5. We work across the whole city, so every single ward, every single postcode we've been to, but just within the council boundaries themselves. It was founded in March of last year by myself and Councillor Nikki Brennan, who's Councillor in Spark Hill. This was right as the pandemic was hitting the country to the point that we hadn't entered lockdown, but we were having shortages in shops. So we stepped in there. Previous to this, I'd been working for a number of years with local food banks across the city and regions. So I'd already had an idea of a kind of gap in provision that we could fill, but it's one that's now expanded a lot. So it's a full-time job for 2 of us now to manage this across the city. The office happens to be in Stirchley, which is kind of part of where the link with Mary comes from. So I should say Councillor Locke. Mary's a friend, so I was feeling like, hi, Mary. Yeah, so, and I'm also born and raised in Stirchley, and I enjoyed the first speaker talking about how he was here when it was up and coming, because I was here before it was up or coming. And I love it very dearly. So we are currently based here, and I hope to be for a while longer. But we do work across the city. So primarily it is referrals from support agencies like midwives, health visitors, social workers, and they'll refer families to us with children 0 to 5 who need everything from clothes to toiletries to maybe a Moses basket if there's a new baby coming. And we rely primarily on donations to stock our shelves, on volunteers to deliver it to families, because no one comes to our office to collect anything for themselves. And of course, people like yourself just to get the word out. So if there's anyone in need, they know where to go. Our website, I will put in the chat, is babyaidbirmingham.co.uk. And on there, you can find a link to give help if you want to give help in any way, but also you can get help quite easily because there is a referral form on there. It's very simple. It's just details of who the person is so we can keep track and the items they need. And if there's anything we can't help with, we will let them know and try and advise elsewhere. Thank you, Laura Creven, for putting that in the chat as well, in a way that you can click on. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. During the year, we'll do different appeals. There'll be different projects like over the summer holidays, we'll be trying to help with getting new shoes for kids who are about to start going back to school. At Christmas, we will also be getting presents for the families. We've been helping all year. I mean, we get people referred to us in all kinds of circumstances. It is impossible to kind of narrow it down to any one thing. But I would say the majority across the city, everywhere from Stirchley to Sutton Coldfield and in between, there are problems with the benefit system. We have a lot of families fleeing domestic violence. There are many refugees with they don't get any money from the government, and a myriad of other issues where people have simply fallen on hard times, hit a crisis period and didn't have the savings, the resources to just ride it out. And that's where we step in. Anyone we help, we make sure that we're getting them help through a support worker to get through to the kind of long-term and deep-rooted issues that make them need help in the first place. I think it's probably a good point to pause if there are any questions.
There's a couple of comments there. Lisa Close residents group, they'd like to donate to the Baby Aid Birmingham. Once everything's back to having meetings and events, they've made a comment. Laura's put the email address. Are there any comments or questions you want to ask David?
I've just put our email into the group chat for whoever's up from Pitley, so close members. Yeah, the best thing if you want to help in any way, really, if you just have any questions, is to email us at hello@babyaidbirmingham.co.uk, and then we can let you know what we need, what we have space for. If you want to do anything to help, we can give you help with that as well, and then to arrange just when we're open and when we're able to accept things. But thank you very much for offering.
Because it's on the high street as well. It's just before or just after Stirchley Beers and Wines and Bike Foundry. So you know, if you know people who have got stuff who may want to donate or throwing away or anything, you know,
please just send us an email first, because I don't want anyone coming and then I have to say, oh, I can't take it. But yeah, our office is next door to Stirchley Wines, which is how I have to direct everyone. Also, it's opposite Akram's because there's no signage. We are occupying the old post office, which is a really beautifully designed co-working space that had to close at the start of the pandemic. And I haven't quite worked out how and when I'm going to leave, but yeah, there's a couple of Stirchley residents, Heidi Murphy and Kerry Leslie, who set that up, and it is really lovely. And hopefully one day people will be able to use it, because I think it's a really good community asset.
It would be good if you could find, you know, if when the time comes that you can remain in Stirchley, get a suitable premises then. But where you are now, I must admit, is very, very nice. So I know so if you know any larger premises that you know suitable, they may consider it then. Well, thank you very much, David. Is there anything else in the chat you want to ask? Cool.
I've just put our Facebook link in the chat as well, if anyone wants to give us a follow in there, because we often put up appeals and anything we're up to in there. And yes, Susan McLean, I would love a much larger premises. Thank you, Laura. Laura's someone who's helped us a lot, actually, Laura Creven in the chat. So thank you for reminding me of what I should say. Yeah, we also have on our website an Amazon wish list, so people can order the things that we are in need of, and it comes directly to, well, normally my house. And if you walk around Stirchley, you'll figure out which one it is, because these massive boxes of recycling every 2 weeks. If I don't put a link in the chat, I bet Laura will beat me to it. But it's just a really easy way of getting help straight to us. And yeah, as well, they will cap the number of items, so you don't have to worry about sending too much or anything. And then I just walk down the road to drop it off in the office.
That's why he wants another premises close at hand, so it's easy to walking distance.
I worry about having less than 5 minutes, how lazy I'll become.
Well, that's the new right thing now, isn't it? You know where you live is 5 minutes from where you need to be, your high street and things like that. That's what I believe. Anything else anybody wants to add? Paul has just put in where you can click on to book vaccinations, and David's put on about the Amazon for the wish list. So if anybody wants to have a look, see what Baby Aid Birmingham wants, then you can have a look there, and you may want to order something. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me, Councillor.
That's very nice. Thank you. And I look forward to seeing you very soon. All right. Thank you, David. Right. And now I'm going to, it's the turn of Stuart Cross from Kier. Well, there's the Baby Aid Birmingham logo, which was designed by a resident of Stirchley, Kerry, which was very good. And so is Stuart Cross there from Kier?
Good evening, Councillor.
Good evening.
Good stuff. Yeah, thanks for inviting me. Yep, good evening, everyone. Yep, so Stuart Cross, Highway Steward for Kier Highways. So Kier, we're the interim service provider. We've started, for those who don't know, we started last April, and it's an interim contract that's now ongoing until Christmas and probably until next year as well. So we're delivering some of the larger streams and maintenance work for the City Council at the moment. So some of the bigger streams you may have seen, Hazelwell Lane, Clonmere, Spa Grove, Pineapple Grove, and obviously the footways on Charlotte Road, Pineapple Road, street lighting as well. Obviously my role, I work with Councillor Locke on a regular basis. We speak probably most days, just obviously dealing with certain issues within the ward. Obviously we go on monthly meetings as well, just to see what's going on. In general, I would say probably the carriageways and footways in the ward isn't in particularly bad condition. My main concerns probably at the moment, which is probably shared by most people on here, is the condition of Cartland Road. That's our main concern for the area, I would say. Now, hopefully in the next few weeks, we're expecting the upcoming programme of carriageway and footway resurfacing to be announced. I can't comment what's on there, I haven't seen the official list yet, but hopefully I would like to see Cartland Road to be on there. If not, we do have very large patching jobs in the system, but obviously for me, ideally, we want to see the whole road resurfaced. And again, we'll be able to announce that programme of works hopefully in August time. It's whenever it comes to us from the City Council. But in the meantime, obviously we're carrying out the maintenance works, so you'll probably see a lot more smaller repair works on the network at the moment. So the way it works, unlike Amy before, we've got a contractual obligation. So if an inspector raises a job, it has to be completed within 6 months. So be it a footway or a carriageway stream. So you will see a lot more work over the last 12 months and going forward as well. So I say there's not too much to report on at the moment. I say we've got some big works hopefully planned for Cartland Road, if it's not on the resurfacing stream, just outside of Councillor Locke's ward. I know Bourneville Lane we get a lot of issues about. So just by Cadbury's, we've got some big streams planned for that as well. A lot of these are with our design team at the moment. So anything above a certain meterage goes to our design team. They take core samples, etc., just to make sure if we are, going to spend a significant amount of money, we get to see what's going on, below the surface really. So we have got a lot of big streams at the moment, kind of with our design team as well. So that's it for me really. Any questions or any issues from anybody? I can answer while I'm here. Or okay, so what have we got?
Enterprise, the car people, they're parking on the pavement. That is a continual problem. I will take it up with the police again, but they are really, it's very bad for people who are in wheelchairs or motorised scooters or things like that, getting by. People are having to walk in the road, which is highly dangerous. I will get in touch with Highways again and the police about this.
Can I say, Mary, this has been raised today by a resident of Twining Road, and it's not so much about the pavement, because the police not completely sorted, but have gone part way to sorting it. But as I raised at the forum meeting, they are now parking in Twining Road instead, and they are parking on the double yellow lines at near the corner, which I also mentioned. And the police said that they would take another look at it, but I think Paul's off ill at the moment,
He is, yeah.
so he probably hasn't had time to do any more about it.
Yeah.
But it's one of those unintended consequences. You ask them not to do something and they do something else instead.
Yeah.
Can I just say, I've noticed today, and it hasn't been reported as far as I know to anybody, there's a pothole opening up on the traffic island by Morrison's, and it's actually, you can see it as cars go round. I haven't noticed it before, and I do pass there on a regular basis, so I don't know if it's something new. But I just thought I'd mention it because it's literally on the island, on the out of town part of the island.
Well, Sandra, I live 2 minutes from the island, so I can maybe walk down later after.
Yeah. Pop into the Bournebrook while you're in that general vicinity.
I haven't been there yet. I think that's on the list. Yeah. I've noticed we got Mr. Pitcock. He's here as well. Hi there. I have got an inquiry. Obviously, we died in Lifford Lane, so if you don't mind, I'll drop you an email out of this. So, yeah, just to let you know, we haven't forgotten. Obviously, there's an issue down there that we're currently dealing with. So, I'm going to drop you an email, if you don't mind, Mr. Pitcock, once we've finished. So, yeah, it's not been forgotten about, which is good.
If you can, please put Stuart. I'm getting all the names mixed up. It's all these. It's the heap boiling my brain.
Mayfield Road as well. We got. I know there's different issues on Mayfield Road, but there's a bid. I think most of Mayfield, the junction Pershore Road, that's going to be resurfaced as well, because that's getting quite bad condition. So that's a job down for this autumn as well.
Also, there's a note about the enterprise parking there in the chat. I don't know whether you can see it.
No, that's sort of carrying on from where we were before. There are quite a few drain covers that are on the carriageway that are loose, particularly in the bit on by Hazelwell Lane. You know, you're walking along minding your own business and suddenly you hear clunk, clunk, and you wonder what's going on. I'd hate to live near them, to be fair.
Another junction you mean there. So normally if it's a loose cover in the carriageway, 9 times out of 10 it's going to be a 7 Trent asset. So what we do,
no, it's because of the surface of the road. When they resurfaced it, they didn't get the levels right. Okay. So every so often they start to wobble, because you can see that they're not level. Okay. While you're later tonight, while you're in the vicinity, take a look and just wait for a few cars to go past, and you'll soon see what I mean.
Are we talking about Stirchley Baths on the corner?
No, right? the other side of the one-way system.
Okay, yeah.
Virtual road side of the one-way.
I could push the bed, couldn't I? It's only another 50 foot. Yeah, no problem. I can make a note of that, Sandra. That's easy. Yeah, not too much else to report, but obviously, hopefully, I'm sure, you know, Councillor Locke will echo this. If we have I'm sure we have a meeting again this autumn, hopefully face to face, but at which point I have a bit more meat on the bone as regards to upcoming schemes. So, yeah, so good things are happening, I like to think anyway.
Also, there's Pitley so close, they want updating on the works around Carlton Road and Riverbrook Drive and the end of Pershore Road, please, when you can.
I think the main issue for us on Carlton Road, it is by, you know, towards the bottom end, where I know for the top of my head, we've got, from a maintenance point of view, we've got easily 1,000 metres that we're kind of holding back on just to see what happens on the upcoming programme. So, yeah, and this will be obviously not small, this will be like, you know, width to width, whole, you know, bring the planer in and plane out the whole surface. But we're kind of holding back until we see what's on this upcoming programme, because it'd be a shame to do. And obviously it's inconvenience to residents. So, yeah, let's see what we get, hopefully in the next few weeks on that one.
Yeah, because I'm also going for a walk with the cabinet member on various places, similar to the walk I do with you every month. Okay. I'm just going to throw him down a few potholes and
It'd be tough to find any.
improve the case for Stirchley. But are there any more questions or comments people want to make? Okay, well, I'm going to thank you for coming, Stuart, to be in touch. Probably tomorrow, you know how every day's like. Something about Bourneville Lane.
Yeah, no problem. So the Bourneville Lane section, just I won't go on too much, but so it's basically from Linden Road, more or less up to well, where the social club was. I know there's a big job, just do a whole lot really. Again, it is just outside Councillor Locke's ward, but recently we were down there and we repaired a lot of the fencing along there and also cut back on the hedgerow that was starting to block visibility. But yeah, anyway, so it's basically from Linden Road.
And also the potholes further down, more in Stirchley side after the station.
Yeah, we've got those as well, hopefully.
Yeah. Okay. All right then, Stuart, thank you very much for that. You enjoy the rest of the evening and keep cool.
I'll do my best. Thank you. Bye.
All right. I'm now going to briefly hand over to Sandra because from the United group, Stirchley Together, she wants to inform people of what has been achieved and what some information. So over to you, Sandra.
Yep, thank you very much, Mary. It's just to remind people that we got some funding, some coronavirus special funding. We decided as a group, and it's a big group, to use it to help people to cook nutritious meals, knowing that a lot of people can't afford the best ingredients. So we have slow cookers, cutlery, glassware, even some saucepans, and they're sitting in the library and the baths waiting to be collected. So it's to remind people that actually we've simplified the system as much as we possibly can. So if you know somebody, or if you yourself, it comes under this heading, who lives in Stirchley Ward, and it is ward funding, has a family that they're having trouble possibly cooking nutritious meals for, or indeed they don't have to be a family, they can be an individual or a couple who are somehow vulnerable, that they can go into the library. They will help them fill in a very short form and they will walk out with a slow cooker, cutlery, crockery, whatever they need in order to make sure that they and their family can eat properly. And we use slow cookers because they're actually very cheap to run. It's less than the cost of a light bulb. So although they're on for many hours, it's a very, very low usage. And so that's why we decided to do it. We're going to have some cookery books, but Paula and I had a bit of a trouble trying to find suitable cookery books. So we're still trying to do that just to encourage people. There are, as I say, there are supplies. The library, anytime the library's open, people can go in, and at the baths when they're open. We have the money, we want to spend the money, but really we can't order any more until something goes out because we haven't got any space to keep them. Also, on that sort of theme, if anyone thinks of anything else that might be, given that we're now in the middle of the summer, more suitable, but it has to be around nutritious and good eating and nutritious food and that sort of thing. So if you think of something else that might come under that heading, then we can negotiate with the council as to whether we can spend it on that instead, or as well as. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you, Mary. And thank you for the money. More to the point, thank the council for the money.
Thank the council then. Any questions or any comments or anything? No. Well, I'm going to do my little update now. today's been quite exciting for me. I've been, this is the second week that Lifford have been out with the mobile household recycling vehicle or unit. It's like a mobile Lifford Lane. 4 vehicles have been purchased for across the city, so for the north, south, east and west, for the various depots. It came to Stirchley. I know it was recycling day today, or part of the ward was, but people working from home or ordering more goods online, there's also a lot of cardboard, paper and everything like that. People brought along wood, glass, textiles, batteries. It was quite surprising. We had a concrete mower and various things brought along. And I think so far this week they'd collected the most from Stirchley. They're going to be coming out again in a few weeks at a different place. We were on Bilby Road today, so when I know again I will circulate it. I mean, yes, people can book to go to the Lifford Lane, but some people may not have cars, or there could be people living in flats and things like that. There are areas of the city like that, so it will be very, very useful, and I think it will be very popular for people. Also, as many of you know, Taylor Wimpey have started on the houses, and plans for the supermarket have come out. Supposedly Aldi, we will wait and see. We don't know, do we, Sandra? It could be, your guess is any as good as mine. Also, we have Stirchley litter pickers, which a number of us go out possibly once a week, and we go litter picking. We sometimes buy the old district office and we go litter picking, or somewhere else and litter pick. It's quite popular. I know Stirchley Baths, when they're open, you can email Karen, and you can collect and sign out for the litter pickers if anybody wants to do any groups. Also, I've got to tell you about it's the EU Welcome Back Fund. This is part of opening up the high street. I'm looking forward to this because it will give the chance for the ward to have a deep clean, you know, the shops and that, getting a deep clean, graffiti removal, and also ideas for an event. I know there's ideas for September for the Heritage Opening Day, but looking towards possibly maybe it's Stirchley together coming up with an idea for an event. I don't know, because I know sometimes the traders have got different ideas, but it would be good to have a think. We've got till next March to think about it, so maybe you know, people can have a think over the summer when the weather cools down, and we can see what ideas there are. Also, last week Loaf won a cooperative business award, and I heard yesterday that Attic Brew won an award for best brewery or best pub in the area, which really proud of. Okay, Dad's Lane Community Association, they've put in plans because they're up by the opposite what will be the new railway station. I'm hoping possibly the next meeting I will. Oh, sorry, Karen's got her hand up. I'm waddling away. Sorry, Karen.
No, don't worry. It was just for when you'd finished, Mary.
Oh, right. I don't think it will go on Pitley so close. I will possibly see if we can have a look, because the vehicle is enormous, so it may have to go somewhere on the Pineapple. Yes, I know about that, Susan. That has been reported a number of times. It's more than a month ago. I think there's about half a dozen of us reported it. I've burnt somebody's ear off today verbally about it, and a number of other items around the ward that haven't been collected. So I'm most annoyed about that. So hopefully I will get them removed, and I will chase them up tomorrow. I do apologise. I'm sorry about that. And like I say, the next meeting I'd like to, if the dates will come out, but it will possibly be September and October, and I want another railway update to see where we are with the Hazelwell line, or Stirchley, or whatever they're going to call it, Pineapple, whatever. So that would be good, and something else for another proposal that I'm interested in. So Karen, you've got a comment?
Yes, Mary, I just wanted to come back on the Welcome Back Fund for the event, because actually ASIA has assigned quite a considerable amount of money for Stirchley for events. It's 14,500, and just wanted to it's considerable compared to some of the others that are on the list, but it was just, it doesn't need to all be spent in one go. There can be a series of events in different places covering different things. So it was really, because I know we'd had some meetings as Stirchley together looking at possibilities, but it was just that it might be better that it's spread out a bit rather than just used for in one go. And actually we can be quite cute. It can be used to purchase equipment that you would use on a regular basis for events. So there's actually an opportunity to use it to accumulate equipment that could be used in future years as well, be it, I don't know, PA or PA system, or gazebos, or other things. So it's might be worth us, even though we haven't got events in mind, just putting a group who are interested in that, because I think there could be quite a good varied things that that monies could go towards. It's quite a generous amount compared to other areas, actually. So so yes, and it can be used, I think when ASIA came to the Pioneer Places, if you turn it into events, Susan, I don't see why not.
I have asked the question and the answer was no. I've asked it twice, and both times I've got the answer no.
You have to be quite cute how you put it, I think.
I did try.
I've lost my train of thought now, but yeah, so it's the brief is quite wide. It's whatever we want to make it, I think, or make a number of things. So it'd be quite useful for just a group of those who are interested or would like to do stuff. Yeah, it has to be new, but you just call it something new. I mean, there are ways around it. You can put it in a different place, that makes it new, or give it a different name, whatever. But I'd be quite keen to that if people are wanting a venue, that we've obviously got space inside and outside that could maybe be used.
Also, as we're, as I broke the ward up into sort of 3 chunks, like the Pineapple, Potteridge part, and then the middle part as well, because I mean, you've got the Hazelwell estate, you've got, I suppose, Pitley, so, and there's a fair big chunks of Stirchley that you could put small. I suppose if you could have 2 or 3 in each chunk, really, you know, like that.
Pop-up events.
Yeah.
The stuff for pop-up. Yeah. Anyway, that was all I wanted to stay on the Welcome Back Fund, and just so people are aware, in terms of for Stirchley Baths Community Hub, we have been open. I think I reported that we had been open for those activities that were able to do so under roadmap 1 to 3, which were organised group activities and children's activities. We are now open a little, can be open a little bit more, but obviously we do shut for the summer. So we are actually keeping in place, given City Council guidance, we are still keeping in place a lot of the COVID secure measures. So face masks into the building, keeping our one-way system, and keeping our reduced numbers, and sanitising, at least until we shut for the summer break, which will be the 21st of August. And just from anecdotal conversations and emails that we've had back, actually the current users are really very grateful that actually we have kept that in place, because they have said they wouldn't come if it had been completely opened up, and so it's allowed that comfortability factor for people whilst they're still getting used to going to activities. But hopefully, depending on what happens over the summer, we will be open full time, and wait for groups that used to use the building that haven't been able to use it for a long time as to whether they do want to come back. We have not taken away any slots that existing groups are already using. So if people use the building, until we're told that people don't wish to come back at all, that space is still allocated to that group. So I don't know, Sandra's on the call, so the history group are still booked in as if, you know, in the space that they used to use, unless we're told otherwise, because we think the existing groups should take preference. That's in terms of its opening. If anybody's walked past the building as if they're going to the park, have a look at the garden there. It looks fantastic, although it's probably a bit dry, probably needs a bit of water on it. But the growing stuff now looks brilliant, just looks brilliant, and is being used on a much more regular basis. So Stirchley Library are going to be using it over the summer on Saturdays for their children's reading group. So they'll be doing things outside, and also they're using it for I can't remember the other group, but there's another group that are going to be using it, because it's got little sort of footstools around. And any of you that have walked past recently will notice that we've now got an outdoor table tennis table as well, that's situated at the back of the baths. So that was it. It was just a bit of an update for the baths, Mary.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. Any questions? I've noted your thing in the chat, Laura. We'll look into it and see what may be tricky though. Any other comments from anyone else? Well, like I say, I think that's the end of the meeting. I will you'll be notified when the next meeting is. I'll send out. It'll probably be end of September, beginning of October, and hopefully it'll be face to face. But stay safe and keep cool as well, and look after yourselves. And I'll see you around when I'm around. I'm at Morrison's tomorrow, in the car park. We were hoping to be with the police because of the it's antisocial behaviour week, but unfortunately Paul, as said, Paul Blackwood is off sick at the moment, and I was hoping to go with Janine, but she can't make it, it's short staffed, so I'll be there on my own. So it'll be like pop along and have a chat, and you know, I think, are you coming along too, Sandra?
Only for a very short time.
Mm.
I've got another meeting at 3:30, so.
Oh no, this is from 10 till 12.
Oh, tomorrow, yeah.
It's changed again. It was,
Okay, yeah, that's it. That's better for me in the morning. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'll try and pop along.
okay then. Well, take care, as I said, and see you around. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Thank you, Rob, and you look nice. You stay cool.
Thank you, Mary.
Okay.
Nice to see what is said all day.
Probably see you in Morrison's.
I think we might do, yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Take care and good evening, everyone.
Yeah. Bye for now, Mary.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
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 Right.